final matchup of the night. Booyah Armada making their way. We have yet to see them throughout this evening, so they're coming in as a fresh team for us to cast versus Glacial Rising Phoenix. Welcome back, Salek.
Hey, how's it going? So I was watching the pro draft, and it was really interesting watching the back half of this pro draft because both teams elected to delay picking their junglers until in the second phase. So the jungle pool got extremely pinched there on the back half of this. And so it's really interesting to see these almost, Trundle come up again. Then, of course, Olaf as well.
Yeah, so the Olaf, I'm really liking the Olaf, and we'll get to see that here in a little bit as Glacial Rising Phoenix should be grabbing that in just a moment for IMU in the jungle, as they are in LCS order. But the thing I like about the Olaf is that they're not into a Jarvan, which can definitely pinch an Olaf off by throwing that Cataclysm down on him, making sure that he can't escape that little trap. But for Booyah Armada, they gave themselves first pick the Aphelios, one of the most heavy damage-dealing ADCs, and I don't want to get too far into this draft before I thank the people that have been following during that picks or during the pro draft picks and bans. Steve 00001, yes, I'm gonna say your whole name. Thank you so much for that follow, as well as Ekius and Yuma X _. If I murdered your name, feel free to yell at me in the Twitch chat. We do our best here, but back to the picks and bans for Booyah Armada. They grabbed themselves the incredibly strong Aatrox. We've seen the Aatrox Ornn many times over in plural play. It is the most common top lane pairing, especially once a set gets banned, which it was for Glacial Rising Phoenix. And then the Trundle and the Syndra, still power picks, but I love the response is the very last pick in pro draft of this LeBlanc, which basically can execute Syndra if they are able to find her at the right angle.
Yeah, if you can land all the abilities on LeBlanc, you can definitely take out the Syndra, but you can also set yourself up in a really interesting spot. If that Syndra manages to drop an orb right next to herself and get the stun off, that LeBlanc is in a very dangerous position to just have R pressed and die.
All right, as the last of these couple of picks come through, we'll see in game if LeBlanc can pull that off. And one of the things about LeBlanc is she can be shut down pretty hard in the early game, delay her getting items, delay her being able to start to pop off, delay her being able to assassinate, which against the comp from Booyah is exactly what she wants to do. These squishy members of Aphelios and Syndra that basically have no escapes. They aren't champions that are going to be able to use abilities and skills to survive. They're champions that are going to die and that are heavily reliant on the rest of the team to either be a front line for them or peel for them, which Braum and Trundle can do very effectively with their crowd control as melee champions, and Aatrox plays that strong front line that can dive into the enemy team, look for those big knockups, look for the sweet spots on that Darkened Blade, and basically distract most of Glacial Rising's team so that those damage dealers are safe. But for Glacial Rising, they also, as we see now at the very end of their picks, grab the Morgana, excellent for being able to pick people off with the Dark Binding, setting up for the rest of the team to kill, or Olaf, who just says, look, I'm going to follow the Call of the Forge God Ornn Ram straight into the enemy team, drop the Ragnarok, run right past the Trundle and Braum saying, yeah, I ignore you, I'm getting onto your Syndra and Aphelios and killing one or both of them.
Yeah, it's a very interesting contrast of styles here, looking at the two team comps here. Like you said, the Glacial has a great opportunity to just pick somebody off, focus down one target, or even have the Olaf just ignore everybody, dive straight into the back lane, pick up that fight, take out that Aphelios early, and if he can do that, then that's a very easy fight. I do love the pick of Braum from the side of Booyah Army here, though. Shut down that Ornn really early, make sure that Call of Forge God doesn't get a chance to come in for that second pass, or even make its first pass through the whole team. You just stop it right there.
Yes, it's really, really, really cool to be able to see, especially when they throw it behind them and they just say, hey, look, nope, no Call of Forge God for you, which will come into play a little bit depending on how Shifter wants to drop that ultimate, because you can set some interesting angles up where you don't necessarily have to path it through the enemy team. You can set it off at a 45-degree angle and then fire it into the team before a team fight begins. But I'm also loving the Misfortune specifically for those group team fights around the neutral objectives, which has become ever more more important, these Drakes and Rift Heralds, and we saw, especially last game, how much pressure Glacial was able to get around the Drake by grabbing the first two, and then basically using that as a hotly contested point to set up the team fights. And even though blue side Toon Squad were able to grab the Drakes for themselves, they lost every team fight when they went for those Drakes. So before we get too much further, let's run through the players, especially introducing Booyah Armada, because they are new to the stream tonight. So, they have made it to finals. Wimbles with the Aatrox in the top lane, Greasy God on the Trundle in the jungle, Putz as their Syndra in the mid lane, Malvix as the Aphelios bottom lane AD carry, and Fire Streaks, the captain of the team, coming in to Captain Braum as their support.
And then over on the side of Glacial making their second appearance after that great win against Toon Squad, you got Shifter on Ornn in the top lane. I Mute You taking Olaf into the jungle. McCurdy, I hope I pronounced that right, and I apologize if I did not, on LeBlanc in the mid lane, Skiz taking Misfortune down to the bot, and Yoma taking the Morgana down into the support role.
Indeed. So, looking at the compositions as a whole, now we get to see the entire team together. I kind of feel like there's a little bit of some synergy from Booyah Armada when it comes to very tight courtiers, but the question is, they've got a huge front line of the Braum and the Trundle and the Aatrox and the damage dealings in the back line. For me, what I want to see out of them is, as long as they can ward effectively to keep their eyes on the LeBlanc trying to slip in from the side, and they can make sure that the Aatrox and Braum can absorb Olaf and Ornn just running straight into the team, they should be able to delay most of these fights long enough for Aphelios to cycle to the Infernum and Syndra to be able to drop that ultimate and unleash power onto the Misfortune or the Morgana or even LeBlanc and be able to execute them. And once they take down one, fighting a 4v or a 5v4 is much easier if you're the team that has the Aatrox and the Aphelios.
Yeah, and I mean, Glacial's, like you said, I mean, LeBlanc's going to be looking for flanks the entire time. Glacial's looking to basically do the same thing. If they can take out the Aphelios, if they can take out the Syndra, that takes away one threat that Booyah Armada has, and that makes that 5v4 fight something very easily accomplished for them. My biggest thing to watch for, honestly, I'm watching Trundle's interactions with his ultimate. If he can get Ornn with the Dominate, then he is, or I'm sorry, Subjugate, my apologies. If Trundle can get Ornn with the Subjugate, then he is going to have a much easier time in tanking up these fights on the front end and making sure that he can slow down the Olaf or possibly even outright kill him before he gets to the back line. That's the thing that I'm going to be most interested in as far as that goes.
All right, well, here we are launching into game number 3. This is it. This is finals, the last opportunity for one of these teams to find their guaranteed win into our monthly invitational tournament next week. This is that light testing grounds, and onto the Summoner's Rift they go. 5-man stack for Glacial Rising, but they're spotted out by Greasy God, so immediately that 5-man stack probably going to end up dispersing. Little dance from Ornn as they head out to just guard the rest of these river entrances.
Good job getting that spotted out by Greasy God. Step forward a bit further than you would normally imagine him doing, especially since he was out in the mid lane instead of being over to the flank where Potts is currently. So that was interesting positioning, but it was positioning that really helped out the team there.
Yep, and that small things like that can definitely help, especially if Glacial Rising, was looking for any sort of crazy invade. They do have that Morgana, which, keep in mind, that did actually help them against Toon Squad in game number 2, because Morgana found a Dark Binding onto the Syndra, giving Skitz the ADC first blood. Very, very crucial in that early game for Glacial Rising. Aren't able to do that again, and I still think it would have been dangerous if they had, because it's a Braum on the enemy team. You get yourself a Concussive Blows stacked up with an Aphelios dealing damage, and that might have gotten it turned around on them. But either way, seems like everyone's happy to disperse. Olaf, I Mute You on the top side of the map, and now a little bit of a 2v2 scuffle. Misfortune going to start off a couple of Qs onto the Braum, switch to the Aphelios. They've already dropped him down to below half health. The Ignite ticking away. He's going to turn around, get a Calibrum shot off, sniping a little bit onto the Misfortune. Morgana backing away. One Concussive Blows have stacked, and one more auto attack would do it, so she flashes with a flash from Braum to follow up, and it might be Yoma going down for first blood. Trundle's here. He's jumped in. He's got the bite. He's got the kill. They're going to leave it to Aphelios to pick first blood, and Malvex will drop and grab early kill for Booyah Armada.
And that was great job by Greasy God, making sure that Malvex got that on the Aphelios, get him early ahead, just like they got ADC ahead last game for Glacial Esports, except they're the ones on the losing end of the trade this time.
Yep, a little bit of scuffle there in the mid lane, as well as in that top lane. Mid lane, LeBlanc able to use a nice little sidestep with the... Actually, I'm going to totally forget the name of the ability now, but hopping off to the side to avoid the stun from Syndra. And I'm curious in the... Say that again?
Distortion?
Distortion, yes, that's it. Thank you very much. The distortion to kind of hop away, and that's what she's going to need to use that mobility of LeBlanc to avoid some of those summoner spells, but you can't avoid that unleashed power. Once Syndra drops it, you're going to be hit by it no matter what, so you're going to have to play around that range as Olaf comes into mid lane looking for a gank. They force the flash out of the Syndra. Potts just taking a little bit of damage, but no kill there just yet. Happy to grab the flash and then back away.
Yeah, nice little bit of a flash here. Oh! Nice trade by Shifter there, going into the Aatrox, taking Wimbles down very low.
In that mid lane.
Distortion, that's
yep, hopping forward, Ignite taking down away as well. They know the flash is gone, and Murky finds the kill cleanly done in that mid lane. Says, hey, look, your flash is burned. You're an immobile champion anyway. Hold on, Ornn finds the top lane knock him. He jumps in for the clap of the hammers and gets the solo kill. Shifter going flash for flash against the Aatrox.
And this is one thing we've seen a lot in the LCS recently. We watched the Aatrox versus Ornn being played twice on each side of the matchup. And
now in the mid lane, hold on, Syndra in trouble once again. They know the flash is down, so why not Olaf come in again, give a second kill over to the Syndra, and Glacial Rising. I don't know if they rose from the flames or not from last week, but they are just looking murderous in all of these lanes, doing such a good job keeping pressure in the bottom lane, despite the Morgana going down earlier. They've got a couple of pot shots off onto the Braum as well. Q gonna drop him low, using the heal from Aphelios to keep the Braum alive. Morgana even, or the Misfortune even taking a turret shot to keep up this aggression in that bottom lane. But they're going to step forward, dropping a bunch of potions, trying to heal themselves back up and keep farming this wave.
Oh, Gravitum swapped up over for the Aphelios, although that double up's definitely going to shut that down pretty quick. Going to need to heal back up here for Malavix before he has a chance to go in with that Gravitum. Now that he's got Gravitum, they do have a little bit of extra pressure with the extra root CC coming out of the Aphelios here.
But Glacial Rising Phoenix's bottom lane know they don't really have much to worry about, considering that they've got the entire bottom side warded, control and an extra ward, so they know there's no help from Booyah Armada coming around this bottom side. And with Trundle up in that top side, they can keep the pressure up as long as they want. They've decided they've had enough and will back away. This should allow Aphelios to also recall, and he's actually on a slight gold lead because of his participation in that earlier first blood, so he should come to lane slightly stronger than this Misfortune, but still from Glacial Rising, keeping up that push in that bottom side, keeping pressure, allows the Olaf to be making these plays in the mid lane and hovering around the top side. Before we get to any more, really quickly, I want to say a huge thank you to Seknarfi as well as Budget for coming in and hitting that follow on Excellency Esports, supporting what we do here is in the top lane, the Olaf and the, sorry, not the Olaf, it's the Ornn, finding Aatrox, Shifter finding himself another solo kill. Can he actually turn it around? A Greasy God as well, the Trundle coming in for the gank, but I think those brittle stacks will get it. The hammer smashes, the hammer forges, and Ornn finds himself a 1v2. Draco's over to Glacial Rising Phoenix as well, as their flame is rising up faster and faster and heating up this game. Potts still in trouble in the mid lane. The flash is still down on this Syndra, so LeBlanc is just walking all over her. Olaf maybe looking to gank from behind.
Yeah, he's definitely got enough range with the axe there. So we'll see if he throws that in, hurls that in there here in just a moment. Looking at it though, 1500 gold lead, yeah, for Glacial Rising Phoenix. We were talking about the early set behind with Yoma. Apparently they did not even pay attention to that.
Yeah, look, you may have gotten first blood. It was on our support. It doesn't mean anything to us. We're just going to keep shoving you in. And they're actually a level ahead, at least on the Misfortune, in that bottom lane over the Aphelios and the Braum. So she's going to tick level 6 before they do. And that is absolutely crucial, especially for that Aphelios ultimate. And now they might have been able to catch out the Braum. He's got the Unbreakable up for a moment, but now it's gone down. Misfortune could drop that ultimate. She's still level 5, though. She doesn't have it just quite yet. And Yoma still picks up that kill. They can turn onto the Aphelios, forcing his flash away. Syndra tries trying to come down, but IMU is right behind her. There is a blast cone for her to pop, hop over the wall. LeBlanc is coming in, though. Murky, though, going to find herself in a 1v3, forced to flash away, has an extra little bit of a clone to try to survive and get a little bit of distance between her and the enemy team. And Olaf goes right back to trying to steal by this red buff, but he might be pushed off of it as several members from Booyah were roaming back. It's still another kill to Glacial Rising Phoenix, though.
Yeah, extending that gold lead even further now. Over 2,000 gold here. They're starting to run away with this one, honestly. It's 7 minutes to 2,000 gold lead. If they can take proper advantage of this, this is going to be a very, very ugly game for Booyah Armada. Malavic's here trying to get this wave clear, get as much of the CS as he can.
Oh, Graviton roots up Misfortune, but the Black Shield going to keep her safe as she's forced to flash away as well. And now Fire Streak setting up that stun. They know the Black Shield is already gone. Yama going to drop as the Infernum from the Aphelios might be enough to take her down. She's flashed, but she will still fall. And they're setting themselves up for another kill as the Aphelios is switched back to the Gravitrum. He's going to be looking for the snipe. Brom doesn't even want the kill. The turret will do the job as he set it up in that bush. And I view this is his second evade attempted and second invade failed as Greasy God. Wait! He goes down to the call of the Forge God? What is this Ornn's damage? Okay, he's no longer a tank. He's no longer a support. Ornn is straight up an assassin with this ultimate.
Well, it's like Captain Flowers called him the tank, bruiser, assassin, melee, DPS. He does everything.
Everything and a little bit more, as currently he's the most fed member of Glacial Rising Phoenix, and I think at this point Booyah is considering, hey, perhaps we should have banned this champion because it's just so darn strong. We thought Aatrox could handle him in the top lane, but he is 0-2, 47 farm. Look at the items that he has right now, 2 daggers and a Doran's Blade at 9 minutes into the game. That is absolutely nothing. Wimble's in a lot of trouble this game.
Yeah, 20 CS down against this Ornn already. He's going to pick up a couple more here under tower as he farms that up, but that just gives Shifter time to roam down and get more vision of this jungle, see exactly what's still available there. And as you can see, he got a vision quickly of the Grump, so they know that Greasy God's going to be heading down towards the bot side of the map here pretty soon.
Well, it's actually onto the Rift Herald for Glacial Rising. They grab themselves that as Ornn and Olaf get it uncontested. Happy to grab that. They also grabbed the Infernal Drake earlier, so they're already well on their way to that 3 Drake point, which they were in game number 2, using that to force the enemy team into these fights, unless they give up that Dragon Soul. And Murky steps forward, just using 1 distortion to force another flash burned by this Syndra.
Yeah, Potts had to burn it there with Mewtwo hanging around right there. It was going to be really easy to get that kill.
Ooh, Rift Arrow popped super early. They got to get that charge down, but the gold barely goes over to the LeBlanc and the Olaf. They hardly get it as they back away, so Rift Arrow not going to do much more than that initial charge. Could have used it top lane to execute that turret, but I guess they wanted to just give as much gold as they possibly can to this LeBlanc and keep her ahead of the Syndra.
Yeah, which, I mean, she's pretty far ahead, almost 1,000 gold ahead of the Syndra right now on this LeBlanc, so definitely already has that opportunity as we see Shifter going in for another trade on Wimble's here, and Wimble's just losing every single one of these.
Yep, even that Infernal Chains dragging the Ornn backwards kind of positions Ornn to clap with those hammers again. So it's just going to be this Aatrox trying to farm up as much as possible and keep from dying. He just has to keep Ornn from grabbing the top lane turret as long as possible. Late game, he can be a split pusher and not look to group for those fights, but that Ornn is just going to be a monster, whether split pushing or group for the fights with the Call of the Forge God. So maybe that grouping power of Booyah can use the Brahms Unbreakable to stop the Ornn ultimate, and that can change some of these team fights. But at the moment, as things are split up, Glacial Rising continue to just look dominating as they will clean up Windrake number 2 and continue to have full control over the neutral objectives.
Yeah, nothing that they could really do about that on the side of Booyah Armada. You're not going to be able to get into that fight without incurring at least 1 death there, at which point you might as well just concede the objective, and that's exactly what they chose to go with. As we see the Mountain Soul coming in, so Mountain Drake is going to be our soul this time around. That extra shield is going to be absolutely massive if we even get to that point in this game.
The resist is massive against the Syndra because you normally want that unleashed power to be executed. Oh, the double shot plus the bullet time. The Unbreakable was already used by Braum. Unfortunately, Skits didn't place it super well, but they are going to be able to push in with this wave, having cleared that last wave, maybe looking for a couple more of those turret plates. Camera has panned to the top side as there's going to be a little bit of scuffle there, but bottom side, they grab themselves that second turret plate and continue to just poke away away against these two. It's on to the, we're going to switch back to the mid lane as Unleashed Power from Cinder going to come out, but not going to kill the LeBlanc. She just hops away, and Murky is out and still alive, using the clone to actually check to see if Trundle's in the bush. Genius from this LeBlanc.
Yeah, and in the meantime, what we saw down there in bot lane, Malavix eating not one but two double ups coming off of minions. Absolutely decimated his health bar and prompted Skiz to go ahead and open up the bullet time, see what they could get there. Mewtwo comes down here, and they're getting a ton of damage down this tower. It really would have helped if they had that Herald there.
Yep, Herald could have been used at top lane, bottom lane. A second Herald would be certainly nice as well, but I think they're just going to stick around. They've got one more minion. They aren't able to grab this turret just yet. Olaf could try to help clear the wave and then go for the finish on the turret, but he's going to be starting that recall right now. And for Glacial Rising, they don't need to rush these lanes, considering that all the lanes are basically winning, besides arguably bottom lane. Misfortune, about 20 CS lead over Aphelios, but the Aphelios has 3 kills. So nice little Dark Binding onto the Braum, but he started to get a little tanky, so he just absorbs it, and Aphelios goes back to farming.
Yeah, we're already seeing, we're looking down here, we did see pings about 30 seconds ago coming out from Yoma, letting Glacial Rising know we got 2 objectives spawning here in the next 4 minutes or so. So they are planning on going for this Herald on spawn, it looks like. Yeah, I mean, you already hanging out on the side of the map here as Shifter goes for another trade with Wimbles.
I wonder if I wish we could have the stats to see if IMU has spent more time in the enemy team jungle than he has his own, because he attempted a red buff steal, didn't quite get it, attempted a blue buff steal, didn't quite get it, but he's still been doing a decent job of at least grabbing the major buffs on his side of the map, and if he can get to a point where he is successful at stealing, he could start to give the blues over to LeBlanc and the reds to Misfortune, which would be massive to help continue to snowball and escalate this Glacial team.
Yeah, passing those buffs along is always going to be helpful, as we see Murky actually going in for an invade herself there. No contest on the control ward take there from the side of Glacial Rising.
Infernal Chains pull the Ornn back in, but he's got that Sunfire Caves. He just doesn't care about that damage. Into the bot lane, Fire Streaks down to about half health. He's not going to use Unbreakable just yet. I think he started earlier, as Malavix has the Gravitrum, so he could get a little bit of a root down. Morgana finds the Dark Binding, though. Skits is still up, flashing away, though, because that Inferno is starting to burn. Bullet time, forcing the flash, but they've been able to snipe away the Morgana. Malavix picking up one. He is 4-0. That one hope for Booyah, as Olaf will find a bit of a slow in the top lane. There's the call to Forge God. Greasy God coming up here as well, but he's not going to stop his top laner from going down, and the Ragnarok from Olaf trying to run away, as now that bottom lane, what is LeBlanc doing? Looking for this assassination, but not going to be able to find it, as Aphelios gets the shutdown as well, so he is incredibly strong right now. If you check the gold, 6,000 gold up, 1,200 over the Misfortune.
Yeah, and he's absolutely going to be the one power point that Booyah Armada has here. They're going to have to exercise this Aphelios and protect him with everything. Murky going in for a very questionable assassination there. Ends up giving over some, I believe there was shutdown gold on that kill. Was there not? Yeah, there was. 150 extra gold over to the Aphelios. So Malavix is definitely very strong right now. Is going to be looking to hard carry his team through the rest of this game.
Well, as you mentioned, Glacial Rising straight onto Rift Herald as soon as it spawns, so they're going to be able to go ahead and pick that one up. The rest of the members of Booyah are actually collapsing very quickly. Pot's coming in as well, going to see some little bit of vision. 2-man stun, not going to land that much, but Aatrox is here with a bit of CC knock-up. Ornn flashing over the wall, just barely able to escape. The Olaf should go down. This should be Rift Herald for Booyah, and they finally seem to have gotten a little bit of fire in their belly, striking back, looking to make some of their own plays, and responding well, grabbing the Rift Herald for themselves, and Shifter has to immediately leave the scene. This fight on this top side, Rift Herald secured. Where will Booyah use it? They might just go for a 5-man push in mid.
Or they're actually pings are already coming out, and looks like they're heading down towards the bot side, wanting to get some wanting to pick up this Drake while they're over that in that area. That'll definitely help with Malavix being able to live through these assassination attempts.
And a big thing about it is that Glacial Rising Phoenix, we're focusing on getting 3 Drakes. They can use that as a power point. Well, now, whoop, they're not going to be able to get that 3rd Drake. Ornn coming from behind, but he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Stunned up, rooted for, now finds the knock-up onto the Aphelios. Call the Forge God coming in. His sole focus is onto Malavix, but he's loading his health bit by bit. LeBlanc is finally able to find the assassination onto the Braum. Aatrox will go down. No surprise there, as Wimbles hasn't been able to do much all game. Greasy God on the run as LeBlanc is chasing. Morgana Dark Binding. Not going to find the Trundle just yet. He's going to go ahead and start that ultimate, give himself a little bit of extra stats onto that Ornn, but he still falls anyway. The Ornn picking up that kill, and 5 men pressuring from Glacial. They lost the Drake, but they won the fight.
Won the fight, and they've got 5 men here on the bot lane, so they're just going to go ahead and push this in, try to take control of this even harder. And that is going to be a, yeah, that's going to be that tower going down for sure. So tier 2 bot lane, and that is going to be their pressure point that they push on and try to emphasize exactly what they want to do, dictate their will onto this game, instead of allowing Booyah Armada a chance to get back into it.
Yep, and 5-0-3 Ornn to the 5-0-0 Aphelios. Question, chat, and question, Salic. Who would you rather have on your team? 5-0-3 Ornn or 5-0-0 Aphelios? Because I feel like it would be the Aphelios, but man, is Shifter making this Ornn look really, really good. Hold on, Concussive Blow started up on the Misfortune. She's got 2 stacks, but they haven't found the 3rd just yet. They're going to start stacking those stuns onto the Ornn. They've dropped him down. They've taken him out. The Braum will fall, but it's okay. It's just the support for getting a huge shutdown on the top laner, and it going to Malvex's Aphelios.
Yeah, that gold landing on Aphelios, and Greasy God drops the Herald right here. Shelly's going to get at least 1 charge. Actually, no, Shelly's probably going to get two charges out of this for sure, getting onto that 2nd tier turret.
Oh, they're looking after grabbing that one turret. They're going to keep pushing forward. There's not that much wave clear. Misfortune does have the bullet time up, so she could use it to try to clear this next wave. LeBlanc going into the backline, looking for the assassination. She actually is going to be hit by the unleashed power from Syndra and drop. Shelly gets the charge onto the turret, but immediately taken down. And, yep, that Mountain Drake may have been a little bit a part of keeping the Aphelios alive, or the Syndra alive. But at the same time, unleashed power, it's targeted. You get the clone, you still die as LeBlanc.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about earlier in the last game, push R, win game. Push R, kill Sid, or kill LeBlanc. It's gonna happen. Fortunately, Potts did manage to survive there. Like you said, the Mountain Drake possibly contributing rather heavily to her surviving through the burst out of Murkdy. I don't know what Murkdy was exactly thinking there, because generally speaking, you want that assassination to happen while you've got some engagement happening on the front side of the fight. And so going in by yourself like that, I mean, it allows all 5 members to just turn and burn you.
Yeah, and maybe they were thinking, hey, okay, if Misfortune drops the bullet time, there's going to be chaos in the middle of the fight. Everyone's going to be running away or trying to escape from that bullet time Misfortune. But at the same time, Glacial Rising, the rest of the team has said, hey, we got to clear this Rift Herald, make sure it doesn't get any more damage onto our 2nd tier turret. It looks like Skits will be able to solo this top lane turret. Holds on to Aatrox. Nice little flash onto that, avoiding those Infernal Chains. Still should go down. Trundle shows up in time to drop that Ice Pillar, or in this case, Pillar of Filth. Takes down Misfortune, and Aatrox survives it.
And importantly there, Skiz actually dropped the bullet time as the pillar came down, and so bullet time is going to be on cooldown for a little while
Canceled it. That's really nice. Bit of CC, knocking her to the side, cancels the bullet time, doesn't get it, and then they also keep alive that top lane turret as well. So it's the only 2 turrets for Glacial Rising. Braum gonna be hit by the Dark Binding. Shouldn't mind too much, as Potts is in position to throw a couple of spheres over the wall. Looks like Glacial's looking to group around this Baron, but they really don't have the men, as Misfortune is coming out from the base, and they need to get this traction down when it comes to vision, so they can actually start to take over some of these fights, because the last couple of fights, it's been a little bit iffy as to which team has been able to 100% be able to take the win.
Well, and what they need to be doing here, they definitely need to Glacial needs to find a way to drop this outer turret if they can at all, because right now, Booyah Armada definitely has more priority, as we see the
Unleashed power, it doesn't finish off Misfortune. Aphelios ultimate's gonna miss as well. That is 2 ultimates used from Booyah, but they weren't able to actually take down Skiz. That is huge. Next team fight, if Glacial Rising go to start it up, the Booyah is gonna be lacking a lot of power, and there's a Mountain Drake up in about 30 seconds. Olaf and Morgana already headed down there.
Yeah, that's exactly what Glacial needs to be looking for.
They're going to come from behind Aphelios. Malvex forced to flash away. He drops the turret, so it's dealing a little bit of damage. He's actually able to use a bit of movement speed to avoid the Dark Binding from Morgana, and they could turn and look for Yauma. Braum in position to throw out that Q. They've got the slow as well, trying to step forward to get a couple of those down, but unfortunately Aphelios only has those 2 short-range abilities, so doesn't actually have that much damage, and wasn't able to get those auto attacks out. Bullet time for Misfortune takes down the Braum, so he won't have it to be able to block that call. The Forge God from the Orange Shifter stepping forward, gets the Brittle stacks on a Greasy God, forcing them to back up as the fight will start around the Mountain Drake. They're pulling it out, getting it off to the side, but the TP coming in from the Aatrox. LeBlanc is coming out from the base, but she's not here just yet, and Skiz doesn't have this bullet time to start. Wimbles has got that World Ender as he's jumping straight in onto this Olaf. They've taken him down. He didn't have Ragnarok to get out. Here comes LeBlanc. Can she actually find this Syndra? Find someone. She's got the Inferno, the chains, rooting up and taking down the Syndra. Wimbles is still alive, and so is the Trundle, but Ornn is doing what he can to CC as Morgana's getting a little bit of damage. They take down the Aatrox. Murkty's still alive. No one has secured this Drake just yet. The Trundle still trying to find his way to escape. Ornn looking for a position to find the knockup, and they give it to the LeBlanc. They can go straight onto this Drake, but the Braum is alive. Can Fire Streak steal this? That would be massive for Booyah to keep those 3 Drakes from Glacial Rising.
I like how they're not even bothering to kill the ward, because they do block its vision though with the pillar. That was pretty nice. They're not even bothering. There they go, finally killing the ward, so they're not gonna have vision on this. So I don't think Fire Streak's gonna have any chance to go ahead and get.
He drops a control ward of his own. There's no smite here. Throws out the Q. That was actually pretty darn close, but Yalma secures it for Glacial.
That was a lot closer than it really should have been. To be fair, they didn't have vision of Fire Streaks, so he did have a clean shot to go ahead and make that attempt. But at the end of the day, that is a Mountain going over to the side of Glacial and puts them at sole point.
Ooh, Gravitron going to lock up Miss Fortune. Call the Forge God from Shifter. Finds the 2-man knock up in the bullet time as well. Malvix is gone. Aatrox hopping in. Infernal Chains will be enough to finally take down Skitz. It's been a long time coming. I'm you in a little bit of trouble. He's got the Ragnarok if he wants to go in. He throws out one of those Qs and he's launching straight on in, but the unleashed power from Miss Fortune, Syndra will take him down. LeBlanc hopping in. Distortion gets close, but doesn't take down Pus just yet. As now Trundle playing that front line. He's going to be trying to step forward, but he's rooted up, stunned up, knocked up because the Ornn is just too much for Booyah to handle. LeBlanc burning down. She goes golden. Braum is here looking for the last auto and gets it as she distorts off to the side. Potts is still alive, playing around the Morgana's range, and Shifter now with no mana backs away. These teams just love to fight and skirmish, but somehow Glacial is continuing to eke out small leads after each and every one of them. Currently 6,000 gold up.
Yeah, they're just managing to come out on the positive side of each and every one of these fights, just barely, just enough. But when you've got, 35 kills in a 24-minute game so far, it's going to be, those little bitty advantages are going to add up very quickly.
Keep in mind, Glacial, they were the ones who first picked the Misfortune, first picked the Ornn, both members doing incredibly well on their team, so drafting being very important this game, whereas for Booyah Armada, they grabbed their bottom lane, the Aphelios, doing overall a good job in that early game, but has now been caught out twice, no longer having quite as much impact and the threat that he was before, especially as that shutdown gold went to Glacial, helping to kind of keep them rolling in this game.
Yeah, for a minute there, it was looking like the game was turning rather heavily in Booyah Armada's favor, but Glacial managed to seize control for themselves just barely. Those last couple fights have been very close. A little bit scattered from Booyah Armada over at the Drake pit there. And, that's what happens when you kind of start the fight off the way you do.
And this Trundle, unfortunately, hasn't been able to complete anything other than just his jungle item. You can see that he's sitting on that Spectral's Cowl, but that doesn't really provide a lot of safety in these fights. So he wants to be that big frontline tank, but other than stealing Ornn's stats, he's not going to be able to do all that much. He's kind of just a health bar for them to eventually burn through or ignore. Misfortune, no, sorry, excuse me, that's Morgana. Uses the Zhonya's, going golden, staying alive for now. Barely gets out as the Calibrum snipes from Malvix are starting to peek on through. The Flash Force out from Misfortune over the wall as this fight is a little bit scattered, and Booyah Armada may have been grouping a little bit much. Bullet time from Misfortune will separate the team as Olaf's coming in from the side looking for Fire Streaks, but that's the enemy team support. LeBlanc goes in, she gets a Felios, gets the Aatrox as well, finally finds that ultimate they've been desperately looking for this whole game long. The burst is there, Murkty wins the fight for Glacial. They could go for Baron, but their health bars are a little bit low, so instead they're going to grab this mid lane first tier turret they've been fighting around for so long. NAARAM is the name of the game for Glacial Rising, and they're going to jump straight on into the Syndra as well. Pots will drop, mid lane second tier turret will drop. Will they go for the Baron? Will they go for more?
honestly, they got a couple minions. They could keep pushing this, and that's exactly what they're going to do with Skiz and Shifter while the rest of the team goes ahead and resets. They're going to be able to take this tower, although they might want to back off before end him here. And that's exactly what the play is, as Skiz and Shifter begin to back off after that beautiful fight for the side of Glacial Esports.
Beautifully done, and a lot of that was off of Murky finding finally that kind of wrapping around the back and getting the assassination onto the Aphelios. With the Mavericks having almost all the kills, they take him out of a fight and you lose so much damage from Booyah. And then the Syndra was low enough that she was basically on the retreat that whole time, and being not that strong of an escapist champion, it meant that she really couldn't step back forward into the fight, and by continuing to run away left the rest of her team to die. And now they might have caught this Braum. Fire Streaks losing a little bit, but he's pretty tanky, so not going to lose too much. It's on to this next Drake up in 26 seconds. Glacial going to fight for it.
Yeah, Booyah almost has to fight here because Glacial gets it. That's soul. That's the Drake soul right there. So we got a big fight coming up here. Resets all around. Wimble's finishing his, going ahead and getting his base down. He's cleaned up the wave on top side, and he'll be there in just a moment to join in this fight. Here comes TP from Winstall.
Wimble's coming in. We'll see where they position first and foremost as Glacial Rising is grouped. They've got LeBlanc around the back of the Dragon Pit. Fire Streaks on the front line. We'll
Cinder's Banshee Field pop.
Oh, that's a huge, huge deal, especially if that bullet time comes through from Misfortune. Dragon pulled off to the top side, but Glacial Rising unwilling to pull the trigger just yet. Fire Streaks clearing out a little bit of vision as they're starting to fight around a little bit. Olaf and LeBlanc to the back line. They haven't pulled the trigger just yet, but here's the Ornn stepping forward. He's got Call the Forge God ready to go. If they want, Misfortune's health bar a little bit low. Then LeBlanc looking for the assassination. Hasn't been able to find it just yet. The pause is dropped. There's the Misfortune bullet time, but she might have to cancel that. She's got the Morgana Black Shield keeping her alive as Aatrox was diving. And LeBlanc and Olaf will find themselves. At least that Olaf will actually die early as Aphelios solos out the two men. And now the members of Glacial Rising are chasing in onto Greasy God and Fire Streaks. Those are the tanks, but the Aphelios is still alive. He's got under 100 health as Malvik somehow survived against both of those divers looking straight for him. The Syndra went down, but the Aphelios lives, and Glacial Rising don't have any more damage, so they might have to back away from this Mountain Drake.
Oh man, that was a close fight, and Malvik gets away with just an absolute sliver of health there. We were talking about what advantage the Mountain Drake might provide through another future fight, and that's exactly what it was right there. Mountain Drake kept Aphelios alive there and basically made it to where they were able to walk away from that fight. And good news, Jake, we get another one of those fights because nobody took the Drake.
Yes, exactly. And so with that Drake still being, kind of up in the air, it's really crucial for Booyah to continue to fight over those, even if they lose a little bit, which, to be fair, they didn't actually lose all that much, especially with Aphelios being able to 1v2 on the bottom half of that fight. They can keep that Dragon Soul point out of Glacial Rising's hands. And again, this is what happened in game number 2, but Glacial was winning those fights. Now in game number 3, they're not quite as heavily winning those fights as you might expect, especially with them being so far ahead in gold as they are. It's all around this Aphelios. Can the LeBlanc find that assassination again? Ponce's shield is up.
Key thing here, Malvix did finish his Runin's Hurricane off that last fight, so we do have Aphelios with the Runin's here.
There's the knockup, finding a knockup. The Braum shield keeping Aphelios alive for now. Malvex is still in the back, poking away. The Aatrox has gone down, but that's just the front line. Infernum is in the hands of this Aphelios, so he's shooting away, but he's only got the Graviton as an extra one. He might go down. No, he's got the triple. He's going to get the quadra as well. Can he snipe down this Morgana for the Penta? But Booyah put every single egg in the Malvex basket, and it pays off massively for them.
And that is going to be the Drake going over to Booyah. Malavik starting to seriously hard carry his team here. And ouch, it hurts to be Glacial there. You still have almost a 7,000, no, over a 7,000 gold lead here, and just lost a fight basically to an Aphelios.
That is insane. Aphelios, he's inside the bubble of the Trundle and Braum, trying to peel and play that front line when you have these big, beefy champions that are sitting literally on top of Malvex. You're unable to correctly click on him, and just by sheer body power of having everyone so grouped up, allowing the Aphelios to just infernum everyone on the enemy team as Glacial Rising, we're pretty much all just looking for him specifically. They just walked in, quadrant kill, should have been a penta if Morgana wasn't a coward and backing away, as Yoma will actually nearly die, and next time is trying to get a little bit of vision around the Baron. It goes to Booyah Armada, and this game may be 5,000 gold to Glacial Rising, but it feels like it has swapped hands and is in Booyah's opportunity now to try to start to push some of their own fights and objectives.
And one person that really deserves a lot of credit that last fight is Wimbles. Solo dove the backline and basically got himself blown up, but bought Malavik some time to back up. Importantly, Greasy God also got a pillar down and interrupted, once again, another bullet time from Skiz. So the two divers there really did a good job of just preventing all the damage from actually getting to Malavix there. Because if that AoE damage lands, Malavix does not survive that fight. But because all the damage had to turn around and focus on Wimbles because he got the flank off, it resulted in Malavix having all the time in the world to fire off as much as he could and get that fight as a win for Booyah.
Well, now the Baron on 4 members of Booyah pushing down the mid lane. We'll see if Syndra has it. Yes, she does. She came up in time, so it's now on all 5 members, excuse me, as they're going to start to siege this mid lane. Now, not nearly the sieging power that we saw from Toon Squad in game number 2, but they still have a lot of poke potential and that beefy front line. Again, their goal is to be able to absorb some of these spells from Glacial Rising, let Aphelios and Syndra deal the damage. They're going to rotate towards this bottom side because there's still a ton of standing gold with all of these extra turrets in top and bottom. And so Booyah says, hey, you know what? We don't have to be shoving down mid lane super hard. Let's instead go for the side lane turrets. But that actually opens up their mid lane. Glacial Rising is just pushing straight down mid. They've got all 5 members saying, look, you got Baron. We don't care. We're going for your open inhibitor in the mid lane. There are recalls now coming through as Booyah has to defend. And they pull the, or it's enough of a bait. Glacial Rising back away, happy to have saved their bottom lane turret.
Yeah, they saw the backs coming in on the side of Booyah, and so they go ahead and pull off there because they aren't going to be able to win that fight. They didn't have the angle they needed in order to win that fight in the base. I mean, that's what it's all going to be about, is if Murky can get the angle, then it's a win.
So Booyah, they tried to pull a trigger in the bottom lane, grab some extra turrets. They have to recall as their middle inhibitor was still open. There is 3 minutes on this Baron buff, but another 2 minutes before that Mountain Drake comes up. So you're going to see a lot of these lane plays as they're trying to split the map up, use the Baron buff off to the side. But that whole skirmishing a little bit in the mid lane, then rotating to the bottom lane, TPing back, burned a lot of that Baron time. And so now Booyah's not going to be able to capitalize as heavily upon this as if they'd started that whole system by having one person to defend the mid lane and everyone else to go towards these side lanes. They are going to grab themselves 2 turrets in the bottom lane as Aatrox successfully defends top lane against 2, and they're going to start to keep pushing forward, but Baron buff wearing off means they start the retreat.
Yeah, Wimbles did a good job kind of pulling a little bit of attention up to the top lane, keeping things pushed off himself there. And, oh, look at that. 1 minute until Drake here. So we got another map coming up.
Flash forward from the Olaf, burns the flash as well onto that Syndra, so that might just be happy. Hey, you know what? Next time LeBlanc goes to dive this Syndra, going to be a lot easier without that flash. And there's a minute left on this Mountain Drake. That should be enough time for Booyah to recall and get back out onto the map and fight for this Mountain Drake, which is why they're starting those recalls now, even Aatrox in the top lane. But the positioning and vision from Glacial should be able to control it, at least at the beginning of this next skirmish.
Critically, though, if you look over in the Drake pit, there's actually a control ward from Booyah that's protected by the wall. They don't see that, and they have not seen that control ward is actually there, and therefore they do have vision, and they know who all's here. They finally spot that ward and get rid of it on the side of Glacial, but Booyah's already here, ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. From Booyah, they knew that at least most of those members were around, but here comes potentially that next team fight. Keep in mind, Misfortune isn't here. She's going to be seen on a ward. Right now, Booyah knows that Misfortune is not around for this fight. They're going to try to split her up. Syndra stepping forward. Unfortunately, Misfortune is going to get that roam around the side, so they are now both grouped as 5. Again, it's all about protecting this Aphelios. If you're on the Booyah Armada's team, he's got to be alive for this entire team fight. He's going to start off the Mountain Drake. Draw it out towards his side. No, it's distracted. Heads up towards Glacial Rising. So they're going to start to get a little bit of damage. Again, it's all about this Dragon Soul for them. Aphelios is inside that Dragon Pit. The bullet time for Misfortune, dropping him down to about half health, but the Trundle steals it away. So now they are on Dragon Soul. They've got triple Mountain Drakes for themselves. The ult for Aphelios is on Infernum, burning people down. Malvix will go godlike. IMU is on the run. Shifter trying to distract, heading up towards his own base. Yama realizes they're not going to be able to save the Ornn. He's going to go down. The Aatrox is still chasing on the World Ender. Tries to sidestep with the Umbral Trespass to avoid the Dark Binding. Will be hit by it. LeBlanc is pushing mid lane, maybe hoping for a little bit of a back door, but now it's going to be stuck as the Aphelios is on the chase, drops that turret, happy just to clear the wave and leave Glacial Rising just once again empty-handed.
Oh boy. That was a mess. A beautiful ultimate out of Malavix there with the Infernum out. Make sure that he gets all the damage onto the entire team, who is very tightly grouped on the side of Glacial. And I don't know if you know this, but fire melts water. Fire melts ice, so that ice definitely did not last very long.
Yeah, Infernum just continues to be a bad day for Glacial Rising, and really, really good plays for Malvex to always have the right gun when they have those grouping fights. And the grouping for Glacial Rising, you'd think that, hey, LeBlanc, Olaf, they once again would be looking for those backline assassinations, but they haven't been able to find it in that last fight, and a little bit afraid to leave that Misfortune alone because she just gets popped when that damage starts to come through. And this Aphelios is pretty much at the point where he's got 6 items now. Other than potions, he's not going to be able to add much more damage to his kit. He's already maxed out. We are at 37 minutes. This is the finals game, right? A best of one. One of these teams has to come out with the victory, and even though we got a 3k gold lead for Glacial, it doesn't feel like they have that amount of gold, that amount of a lead, as Ornn will be alone in the front line for Glacial, and the rest of the members from Booyah grouping up. LeBlanc is inside the enemy team jungle, camped out, waiting for an opportunity to get around somewhere. The members of Glacial split up super heavily, and so the fight will break away. Where is Murky going? Oh, she's actually headed towards that mid lane inhibitor.
She's going for the inhib.
She's going for the backdoor on the inhib. LeBlanc is straight in, starting to auto-attack it, and that means that Booyah immediately start heading towards the Baron. They know that it'll be a 4v5 fight. The turrets drop for the Aphelios, starting the Infernum burn onto that Baron. He's not going to have that gun for a whole lot longer, though, if they can wait it out. Wait for that Infernum to drop, and then switch it up. Misfortune bullet time over the wall. LeBlanc has grabbed that middle inhibitor for the side of Glacial. Black Shield from Morgana. She goes to Zanias as well. Drops that ultimate. No one's going to be stunned up, though, and the Baron has been saved by Glacial. Booyah walk away empty-handed. First time in the last about 3 team fights that they've actually lost out. Didn't get any kills, didn't get any objectives, and lost their middle inhibitor. Glacial could start the Baron up if they wanted to.
And they're just going to go ahead and clear the vision, leave the threat of that as the thing that they can do. So the threat of them taking Baron is still standing, and that's what Glacial's going to leave on the table here as they go for the reset after that fight.
This game is on a knife's edge because any major team fight, any ace, if you think about this Aphelios and the twice that he's been basically wiping Glacial Rising Phoenix's team as a whole, if that happens again, the death timers are so long, it's guaranteed to be inhibitors going down, the Baron going down, maybe the game for Booyah, and they have fought so long and hard. Shifter might be caught out now, the Ornn trying to get close to the Blast Cone, however, he's blocked away by that Trundle, who hits the Blast Cone, knocking him over the rest of the team here, trying to defend. Morgana shows up. That Black Shield should be enough to push Booyah away. Doesn't even use it. Just the threat of it is enough for the members to back away. Super Minions pouring into their base, and Glacial might finally have the breathing room they've been looking for a while.
Yeah, breathing room they're looking for, and they go straight onto the Baron with it. They utilize it, and here come a couple of members here from Booyah Armada trying to interrupt this.
Aphelios is alone. LeBlanc should be able to find him. Hold on. Nope, there's a couple other members. Aatrox TPing on, and LeBlanc is still headed towards the base. Aatrox is here. It's a 4v5 fight, and everyone's grouped together. Bullet time for Misfortune, but the health bars are not dropping fast enough. Skiz goes down as the Aatrox hits that back line like a hammer. Take it, everyone down. You will survive through the Ragnarok, but it's a triple again. again for Malvex, and LeBlanc in the meantime is trying to push these minions onto the base. He's got one Nexus turret. Can Olaf defend against this Baron? He doesn't have flash up. There's a blast cone for him to try to jump over the wall. No Ragnarok. Aatrox is, or sorry, Aphelios is actually going to look to try to 1v1 him, takes him down, so they cannot steal away this Baron. But LeBlanc dies as she takes down one Nexus turret. The second should be defended by the Syndra, who recalled him. Baron goes to Booyah. 45 seconds on this Olaf before he comes back up. Booyah might have been able to secure themselves at least an inhibitor as Syndra TPs to the bottom lane. Now with the Baron buff, should be able to grab an inhibitor.
And the Drake is up too. You see the members of Booyah Armada moving over towards that Mountain Drake. That
they're going to get
Soul
Mountain
with
Soul.
4 stacks.
Oh, that is a critical error from Glacial Rising. They sent the LeBlanc hoping to force Booyah into recalling, but they pulled, or they took the bait and said, hey, you know what? Our Syndra is enough. Press R, get kill. That's enough to defend our base. We're going to get the Mountain Soul now. That is going to make it nearly impossible for Murky to find those assassinations onto the Aphelios or the Syndra.
4 stacks on the Mountain Drake, 16% bonus on the magic resist and armor coming through, as well as that additional shield on every single member. Yeah, and just like you said, it is going to be nearly impossible for Ricky to pull off these assassinations now with those massive shields weighing down members of Booyah Armada.
This misfortune is forwent, a 6th item to be able to pick up a stopwatch. That afraid of dying to the Infernum from the Aphelios. But the problem is, even if you go golden, that Infernum is still going to be burning through your team. And when you survive, you might be the only person left at the end of the fight to immediately then die afterwards, because there's not many options from Glacial Rising to get through and actually kill the front line of Booyah. This Trundle is really tanky. While early game he only had 1 item, he's got 3 items completed now, including that jungler item, so he is in a much tankier spot, and he can steal the Ornstedt, who's done nothing but stack up this armor and magic resistance, and they have the Mountain Drake as well, so these resistances are huge. The siege will start in the mid lane. Unleashed Power almost sends LeBlanc back to the fountain. She goes golden, able to hop away for now. Murky surviving, but just very low. Not able to actually join in if the fight actually starts. As Aphelios is here, he's sitting on a couple of, not the best long-range guns, but he'll eventually burn through those. I think that's Severum and Crescendum, if I'm not
Severum
mistaken.
and Crescendum. So Severum's about to go out too. Crescendum has plenty of shots left on it. That's okay. That gives him an opportunity to put down turrets. So those turrets, like he's got a Severum turret out right now, is actually going to be incredibly helpful to maintain pressure on the siege.
Oh, Misfortune, you might be going down. There's that stopwatch coming out incredibly early. Ornfence to knock up onto that Trundle. However, the Misfortune, she's going to get knocked up and pushed out with the Glacial Fissure from the front. She's flashed away. Call the Forge Guy from the orb will not save the turret. Trundle in trouble, but again, he's only there to play tank. Flashes and takes off Misfortune's head. I Mute You is trying to 1v1 Himmel's in the top lane. This Aatrox has had a horrific game all game long, but finally has the items to win out in a 1v1. Booyah Armada, they have battled their way back from the grave, and while Glacial Rising Phoenix has Phoenix in the name, it's Booyah Armada that comes back from the death's door, finishes off the Nexus, will take the game in 44 minutes with quadruple Mountain Drakes, and they will be your first place winners of Week 3, guaranteeing their spot in the Invitational Tournament next week. That was a massive game by Booyah.
And a massive comeback by Booyah. They were getting absolutely destroyed through the early game and eventually managed to fight their way back, claw their way back, put all of their eggs in the Aphelios basket, that first pick that they locked in, and it absolutely paid off. 50,000 damage on this Aphelios to enemy champions. Absolutely critical in this game.
Booyah, cheered by Person of God with 100 bits, thank you so much, but seriously, you could be on the enemy team and still have to admit that Booyah Armada played very well this game. Their early game had so many struggles, but them putting all of their faith into Malvex's Aphelios, it looked so good in those grouped team fights. 22,000 1,000 gold on one single member of Booyah. That is just insanity. And in the future, when you're playing against this team, you probably are going to have to ban Aphelios because you cannot let games happen like this again. Incredibly well done from Booyah, and a really good game from Glacial Rising as well. I mean, credit to Murky for the couple of times finding those assassinations in the early game, but I think the biggest key point was Shifter trying to 1v9 carry on this Ornn with tank stats. Still had huge impact in this game, and a crucial member from early to mid. It was just late game, Trundle would steal the stats, Ornn would get hit with an Aphelios Infernum and die.
Yeah, as soon as those stats got pulled off by the Trundle, it was lights out on the Ornn. He wasn't going to be able to do too much after losing all those stats that he'd been stacking up the whole game. And it's really a shame too, because that's what you're going to do on an Ornn. You're going to stack up those stats, but when you've got that Trundle on the enemy team, I mean, we saw the Trundle come out. You're kind of leaning towards that being a counter pick towards the Ornn, just because of the fact that was the only tank that Glacial really had. Yeah, they've got the Olaf, but the Olaf's job isn't to tank up all the damage. It's to run in and assassinate the enemy backline. It's really the Ornn that the Trundle was going to be targeting that whole game, and just a fantastic job of shutting down the Ornn just by stealing his stats.
Go ahead and cover for just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing, got to give proper credit where credit is due to. Glacial in the early game, especially after giving up that first blood, really turned it around and managed to secure themselves that advantage. So fantastic job to Glacial in the early and mid game as well. But once we got it, like you said, we got to the late game, got to the mid game, Booyah Armada really turned it on with the Aphelios. And I'll tell you what, we normally do on the free nights, we used to do MVPs and honorable mentions. Murky, one of the plays that I remember most was Murky going for an assassination in mid lane. And I think Glacial knocked down like 3 members down to low health, and Murky got 3 people with 1 distortion either killed or on like 0 HP, and absolutely decimated their Booyah's chances. I thought the game was going to be shut out from that exact moment. But, I mean, really well played by Booyah, pulling it all back there.
Okay, so when giving MVP, do you give it to Malvex or do you give it to the players that kept Malvex alive? Because while the Aphelios played incredibly well, there is a bit of a limitation to you stand and just fire. I mean, how many keys does he actually have? Mostly it's just Q and R, and that's all it really is on the Aphelios. So I feel like you have to give huge credit to Fire Streaks and Greasy God for keeping the Aphelios alive so that he can sit there, auto-attack, press R, press Q.
Yeah, but it takes one thing you got to keep in mind that a lot of people don't take into account when they're thinking, oh, Aphelios is such an easy right click to win champion. It's ordering your guns correctly and making sure that you use the guns. In particular, Malefic sat at least twice that I saw, and it was probably a lot more than this, sat on Gravitum with 1 shot left in order to have that Q ready to go whenever he threw out an Infernum Q. He threw out the Infernum Q, hit a bunch of members, and then swap to the gun and get the Q off with Gravitum as well in order to get the snares down, get the CC, so he had more shots with Infernum with the team grouped up. It's not always just right click to win on Aphelios. He does have a lot of skill involved and a lot of planning involved. You have to know exactly what gun you have coming, so you know exactly what you can play, and for that reason I give it to Malvex on the Aphelios.
All right, I can definitely get behind that. A lot of people in the chat agree as well. Truthless, J Truthless agreeing, positioning, just saying. I like it and I love it. Well, congratulations to Booyah Armada for the first time they have been able to win the light testing grounds and looking so good after being able to